The noblest aim in life is to strive to make other lives better and happier. So spoke President David O. McKay. Not only did he speak it, but he lived it. At the end of his 96 years, millions of people throughout the world were better and happier. On September 8, 1873, into the home of David McKay, an immigrant from Scotland, and Jennette Evans McKay of Welsh ancestry, was born David Oman McKay. Young David's exuberance for living developed rapidly, evidently a little too rapidly for his aunt, who once remarked to his mother,
"Jennette, if you will just take care of this boy, I'll gladly cook for the Threshers."
David's home was Huntsville, Utah. He was the third of 10 children. When his father was called away to serve a mission for 2 years, young David learned to assume heavy responsibility. His spiritual side developed rapidly also. He was in his teens when a visiting patriarch pronounced a blessing upon his head that promised,
"The eye of the Lord is upon thee. The Lord has a work for thee to do in which thou shalt see much of the world. Assist in gathering scattered Israel, and also labor in the ministry. It shall be thy lot to sit in council with thy brethren, and preside among the people, and exhort the saints to faithfulness."
One day he had an intense desire to receive a manifestation of the truth of the restored gospel. He recalled in later years, "Though I prayed fervently and sincerely, and with as much faith as a young man could muster, no spiritual manifestation came." I remember saying to myself, if I am true to myself, I must say I am just the same old boy that I was before I prayed. The Lord did not see fit to give me an answer on that occasion. But in 1899, after I had been appointed president of the Scottish Conference, the spiritual manifestation for which I had prayed as a boy in my teens came as a natural sequence to the performance of duty. One of the duties young David accepted and excelled in was that of getting an education. He also found time to enjoy life, participating in dramatics, debate, and the Glee Club, and playing the piano with the Huntsville Town Orchestra. At the University of Utah, he was popular enough to be elected president of his class, studious enough to become valedictorian, rugged enough to play right guard on the university's first official football team, and fortunate enough to win the heart of a girl who became his sweetheart forever. Another duty, and a thrilling one for David, was serving a mission for the church in his ancestral home of Scotland. Here his leadership potential was evident to his presiding officers, one of whom prophesied of him,
"Brother David, God is mindful of you. If you will keep the faith, you will sit in the leading councils of the church."
This prophecy and the circumstances that surrounded it were to David the manifestation that he had prayed for as a youth. During a period of discouragement on his mission, he noticed on the wall of a house the engraved words, "Whate'er thou art, act well thy part." Accepting this as a personal message, he threw himself into the work of the Lord with renewed courage and determination. After his mission, one of the most pleasant of all duties awaited him, marriage and the establishing of his family. His lifelong courtship with the girl he met at college, Emma Ray Riggs, has become a romantic legend in the church. On innumerable occasions throughout their life, he wrote her poems that he called Heart Petals. David O. McKay's unwavering desire to make other lives better and happier, his devotion to duty, led him to many positions. Faculty member at Weber Academy, principal of that institution before he was 30, General President of the Deseret Sunday School Union, Church Commissioner of Education, President of the European Mission were some of his notable assignments. He also served as a member of the Council of the 12 from 1906, having been ordained an apostle at the age of 32 by President Joseph F. Smith. An outstanding event of this period of his life was a tour of the missions of the church during 1920 and 21, a tour which took him over 65,000 miles around the globe via ship, train, automobile, rickshaw, and camel. His letters home reveal much about the man. His response to the beauties of the world made him eloquent. He wrote, "The quiet movement of the boat and the low, playful splash of the water told me as soon as I awoke that we were in a harbor. The sun was sufficiently near the horizon to tinge the floating clouds with crimson and pink. The islands in the near distance seemed still to be sleeping under their mantle of green, while around some of them, lapped by the gentle waves of a rippling sea, nestled white sand beaches that looked like a long stretch of pongee silk." Another time he wrote, "I'm really homesick this morning. I've thought almost continuously about the folks at home, the kiddies playing on the lawn, Mama and Lou Jean on the summer porch, and Llewellyn on his way to the Dry Hollow farm. I imagined him coming home happy because he had caught 4 fish. June is the most delightful month of the year in Ogden Valley." Elder McKay's spiritual side was well expressed on this historic journey. In New Zealand, a remarkable incident occurred in response to his desire for the people to understand him without an interpreter, just as it was on the day of Pentecost. The elder assigned to interpret for him relates the event.
"It was the Spirit of God which gave him utterance. After a few moments I looked around the audience and noted the effect of their discourse upon the people. What I saw convinced me that the people knew and understood clearly what was being said by another apostle of the Lord. For I perceived old men and women with heads bowed and tears running down their faces, and that was more eloquent to me than anything else that they understood."
Continued service to the church brought him to the position of counselor to 2 church presidents, Heber J. Grant and George Albert Smith. And then in 1951, at the age of 78, when most of his contemporaries were long since retired, David O. McKay became prophet, seer, and revelator to the church, succeeding President George Albert Smith. A new round of travel started, touring the missions and dedicating temple sites. During his administration, which lasted for nearly 20 years, the church saw an unparalleled period of growth. Missionaries now traveled at jet speed, spreading the gospel in almost every country of the free world, and church membership more than doubled. Plans for new temples were drawn. Ground was broken. Temples rose and were dedicated in Switzerland, in the United States, in New Zealand, and in England. On every continent, chapels were constructed in great numbers and dedicated. Church schools and universities were expanded and developed to offer outstanding educational facilities to students from all over the world. Administrative changes were instituted, such as calling 3 additional counselors in the first presidency, and ordaining members of the First Council of 70 to the office of High Priest.